We're going to our next story here, which is about Tulsi Gabbard. So you guys know a lot of mainstream media people have been heavily attacking RFK Jr. You guys know I do not support RFK Jr. But just because I don't support someone doesn't mean I think they should be attacked because they're running against Joe Biden. Like, that's some of the criticism that has happened. Now, Tulsi Gabbard recently had an interview. Hold on, make sure I got the right thing here. Yeah, well, she's defended RFK and she's defending Cornel West. But Tulsi Gabbard had an interview here on Fox News, and I want you to hear what she had to say in reference to opposition towards Joe Biden.
Joining us now, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democratic candidate for president and Fox News contributor. Great to see you in studio, Tulsi.
Great to see you. I would like to go to both of those.
Oh, wouldn't you?
By the way,
I don't know. Zuckerberg's looking pretty buff, but Musk's got him on the pin.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? Why are they freaking out about this? Is this a real threat to a, I guess, weak president?
Well, I think they definitely do see it as a real threat, which is why you're seeing all of these headlines pop up. They're showing exactly how concerned they are. The sad part is, anybody who knows Cornel or Bobby Kennedy Jr. knows they're good people, and they're doing what they're doing because they care. I don't agree with everything that they stand for, but they're motivated by a desire to serve.
But you would think that they're just the worst people ever, by the way. You hear the whisper,
exactly.
Forget the whisper campaigns. It's all just a ego exercise. Well, maybe it is a little bit for the no labels people, but certainly not for RFK Jr. That man is vilified morning, noon, and night. And I don't agree with him on a lot of issues, but I do on some of his stuff that he's worried about the medical cartels and all that, and perhaps on the war issue. Yeah. But I mean,
they're vilifying him in the same way that they vilified me back in 2020 when I ran for president, the same way that they vilify anyone that they deem a threat. I have no doubt that they'll get started on Cornel West here shortly.
They don't like his, ascots or something.
That's the problem, is they'll find whatever they need to. They'll make up whatever they need to smear and destroy people because they don't have a conscience. They don't care who gets hurt.
They don't have a record.
Let's pause here for just a second. This is very important what Tulsi is saying here. I was not a Tulsi supporter. I was a Bernie supporter. I'm pretty sure a lot of you know that, but I was a Bernie supporter. But I saw the way that they treated Tulsi Gabbard too when she ran in 2020. We'll get into a couple of clips here in a second just to remind you. When the Democratic Party decided they were not going to like her anymore. But what she's saying here is very true. They'll find something to use to smear you with once they find that you are not the status quo. You're not really their type of candidate. Nina Turner described this as you're not the right kind of Democrat. That's what they had said to her. The Black Caucus said that to Nina Turner when she was running for Congress, right? That's why they chose to endorse Shontel Brown over her. So that's what it's about, being the right kind of Democrat or the right kind of candidate, period. You're not playing by the rules. You don't fit into the status quo. And for the candidates that do play by the rules and do fit into the status quo when they like, when there are truths that are told about them that should give people pause, the Democratic Party will do everything that they can to defend those people, like they're doing right now with Joe Biden, like they did with Bill Clinton, like they did with Barack Obama. That's one of the problems you'll see with the two-party system. Like, as long as you fit into their idea of status quo and what they want you to be, if you had some fuck-ups in the past, they'll do whatever they can to either cover it up. If it's leaked, they'll do whatever they can to defend you. It is when you are outside of that status quo, is when those fuck-ups are released. Well, they'll just use that and smear you as much as they can. Or sometimes they will be the ones to release that information themselves. So I think what Tulsi is saying here is very, very important, because once upon a time, she was the darling of the Democratic Party. They loved Tulsi Gabbard back in the day. They really thought that she was going to be the next big thing. They had her in line. They're like, you're next. You're next. Until Tulsi decided to do something that was out of line, according to the Democratic Party. Just like that, they were done with her. Let's go on.
have a terrible record.
They have a terrible record. Exactly. They can't make that case to the American people.
And the hologram presidency doesn't help either if he's a hologram candidate. Now, I want to play a moment from Cornel West to your point last night. I think it speaks to why the left is freaking out about him. Let's watch.
The people of Ukraine right now who are suffering, and I'm in deep solidarity with their suffering, they are being caught between this proxy war between the American empire and the Russian Federation. Federation.
I just spoke to the foreign minister of Ukraine. We're saying that they are just victims in this proxy war. He would say, you're out of your mind.
Okay, let's go to the second clip here. And I want to say something. She said the left is freaking out. I'm sorry. The Democratic Party is not left. Okay. So I just want to add that in here because I want people to hear that and be like, oh, yeah, the left. No, the Democratic Party is not left. Okay, let's continue here.
That's a really thoughtful question.
Yeah, I mean, it's just offensive. Again, that they won't put President Joe Biden up side by side with these other people who are challenging them. Instead, just saying, oh, you're just a spoiler, shows how arrogant and entitled President Biden and his whole administration is, including the propaganda media, who's pushing this whole narrative and doing their dirty work for them and trying to smear these people who are saying, hey, yes, I'm raising my hand because I want to serve our country.
And not to speak of the fact that I think the last poll, we showed it last night, I believe 44%, a plurality of those polled, most recently said that we've given too much in the way of arms and aid to Ukraine, not too little.
Right. So they're not willing to have that conversation. Immediately they go towards labeling people, you know.
You're pro-Russian, you're a Russian sympathizer. You can't hold two thoughts in your mind at the same time.
This is why you don't see Tulsi Gabbard on CBS or MSNBC. Not CBS, sorry, well, them too. You don't see her on CNN or MSNBC. This is why. They don't invite people like that on that are going to say the kind of things that Cornel West said. Now, they have to have Cornel West on because he's such a big name. And they realize, wait a minute, African-American scholar, he was a part of the Bernie Sanders campaign. A lot of people like Cornel West. This could be trouble for Joe Biden. Invite him on so we can try to, you know, tear down his argument so people cannot vote for him. They can't ignore him. See, that's the thing about having someone who's pretty well known. But they're not going to invite Tulsi on for that conversation. They're not going to have people like Glenn Greenwald on for that conversation. They're not going to have people like Chris Hedges or Dr. Wolf on for those conversations. That's why you don't see them on those channels either.
That Putin is a terrible person, but perhaps this needs to come to an end.
My hope is the American people can see through this. They can see through all of this nonsense and recognize that in the Declaration of Independence, our government is given their power by us, we the people. So these elections that come up, we have the ability to bring about the kind of change we need to see in this country and frankly in the world. And we've got to make that happen.
Yeah, they don't have the consent of the governed on this. Tulsi, great to see you in studio, no less. All right.
Okay. So think about what Tulsi said. Like, we are the ones with the voice. And one of the ways we can express our voice is by the way that we vote, right? You don't have to continue voting for these people. Lose me and miss me with all the lesser of two evils BS. I don't buy into that. Evil is evil, damn it. I mean, come on, give me a break. So I want to remind you the first strike against Tulsi Gabbard when the Democratic Party started to pause and say maybe she is not going to be the DNC or Democrat darling that we thought that she was going to be. I want to take you back to 2016 when Tulsi Gabbard, instead of endorsing Hillary Clinton, which I think Hillary thought was going to be a shoo-in, surprise. Tulsi Gabbard said she showed up to Hillary Clinton's door and was like, surprise. She did not endorse Hillary Clinton. Instead, she decided to endorse Bernie Sanders. This was the first strike against Tulsi Gabbard from the Democratic Party. Here she is explaining why she made the decision that she made.
Our most important quality in our president is their job as a commander-in-chief. As a soldier and as a war veteran, I know firsthand the cost of war. In my deployment to Iraq, I worked in a medical unit where every single day I saw and experienced that high human cost every single day. Bernie Sanders has good judgment and foresight to be able to make decisions about where America should deploy its military power and where it shouldn't deploy its military power. We see a clear contrast with that with Hillary Clinton, who has shown through her record her interventionist wars of regime change. Start with Iraq. She voted for and championed the overthrow of Saddam and the war in Iraq.
Let's pause here for a second. So she's calling out Hillary Clinton on her war record, which rightfully so. But see, this was a no-no. Tulsi was not supposed to do this. Tulsi was not supposed to say that. You were supposed to just go in line and say, I'm with her. Go right along with Hillary Clinton. So Hillary did not like that. And you know, the Clintons, if they don't like you, they'll make sure nobody else in the Democratic Party likes you either. Let's just keep it real. Now he's going to chime in here and say, oh, but you served in Iraq. Yeah, she did. She's already told you that. And she's telling you what she saw when she was there. We have to be very careful about faulting people that have been in the military and saw the wrongs, left the military, or were still part of the military because of economic reasons. Let's remember who the military tends to recruit. We have to be careful not to shame those people when they realize the wrongdoings. I think that's very important. So he thought this was a gotcha, but it wasn't a gotcha.
I did serve in Iraq, and I saw the cost of that overseas, and we're still experiencing the cost of that economically here at home. Number two, Libya. She was the chief architect within the Obama administration to overthrow Gaddafi in Libya. What's the result? We see a failed state, we see chaos, human suffering, loss of life, and ISIS and Al-Qaeda having a very strong stronghold there in Libya. Number three, Syria. She has been a champion for and a strong advocate for the overthrow of the Syrian government of Assad and promises to escalate that war with a so-called no-fly zone if she's elected president. So you don't have confidence
that she would be a good commander-in-chief?
Her judgment is the issue. And as a soldier and a veteran, I do not have confidence in her ability to be a commander-in-chief because she would, as she has stated, continue to take us into these interventionist wars of regime change that have cost our country dearly in trillions of dollars, thousands of American lives lost, what to speak of the hundreds of thousands of lives lost in the Middle East.
Where's the lie? So she was calling out again Hillary's record on war. She was calling attention to the fact that Hillary Clinton was a war hawk. Now, that was Tulsi on CNN, and she has not been invited back on CNN, I think, since she ran in 2020. So you see, they don't bring her on back anymore. You can't say stuff like that, and then they're like, oh, yeah, still continue to come on. But she was 100% correct. That is why she did not endorse Hillary Clinton, because her record on war. That was strike one from the Democratic Party against Tulsi Gabbard. And then there was strike number two. When Tulsi Gabbard ran for president through the Democratic Party, so she was running as a Democrat still. And this epic moment here, when she decided to expose Kamala Harris for everything that she was. Oh, we cannot forget this moment.
California, and I'm proud of that work. I want to bring in Congresswoman Gabbard. Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked.
This is why they don't want to have debates. This is why they don't want Joe to debate. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Kamala, hang your head in shame.
Evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work.
But you did all those things that Tulsi said. Like, that's the thing. She did all of those things that Tulsi Gabbard said. And she's proud of the work. How did this woman become vice president? Think about this, people. She couldn't get one delegate when she was running for president, and she's vice president?
I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response?
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse.
That's true. So for people who are not familiar with that story, because I read about that story after this debate happened, if you Google Kamala Harris blocking evidence in California, you'll see that story. By the way, I honestly think Google tried to hide that information after this debate happened, because I had to search, like dig for a minute. But yeah, that is actually true. Kamala Harris didn't want people to know about that. Guess what? Kamala Harris really screwed over Black people in California. You ain't never lied.
From being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can.
Why'd you block evidence?
You can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that, and I am proud of those decisions.
Senator Harris, thank you very much. Senator Bennett.
Not once did she even say that Tulsi was wrong. She didn't deny anything that Tulsi Gabbard said. So that was strike two towards Tulsi Gabbard. That bit right there and the bit before, when she endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016 instead of Hillary Clinton. After that, the Democratic Party was done with Tulsi Gabbard, and they treated her like she was honestly thrown out leftover scraps after that. And then later on, as we know, Tulsi Gabbard announced that she was leaving the Democratic Party. Can you blame her? That's how they do you when you don't move the way they want you to move. So Tulsi defending RFK and Cornel West, she knows she'd been there. She has been there. And this idea that Joe Biden cannot be challenged and that he should just have a re-election, he should just be re-elected just because he's in that seat, it's ludicrous. Think about it. Ludicrous. JB says, I meant to discuss this on my show, but I ran out of time. But when Gabbard and Ingram are the voice of reason, you miss the plot. Tulsi's good on some issues, I think. Thank you for the super chat, The Traveler. Hillary Clinton even voted for the Hague Invasion Act. The U.S. invades Netherlands if it gets investigated for war crimes. Same with Biden. Yep, she's a war hawk. Thank you for the super chat, DC. Tulsi obviously ran to help Sanders in 2020, and he stabbed her in the back. Sanders, a white man, would not have been allowed to criticize Kamala. Yeah, that is true. Because they would have said, oh, Bernie Sanders is being racist towards Kamala Harris. That's what they would have used. Saul says she was big on keeping people in prison for free labor. Those liberal states and all. Well said. Well said. I'll take the comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you for the tip, Roger. The following is a text that I received 15 minutes ago. Roger, I'm begging, can you sign the petition to ban RFK Jr. from the ballot? What? Stop to end. Here's my answer. F you. Same shit y'all pulled with Bernie, which is why I'm not a Democrat anymore. So stop texting me. They just admitted to me that they are actively trying to keep someone off the ballot. Wow. You guys see this? You see what's happening?